1,
2, 3,
4, 5.
And 6.
I'm sure you're all here today because you're wondering, is it really possible to become debt-free? And I'm sure you're thinking that I have some quick fix to your problem, but really I have an easy solution. But first, I'd like to let you know about a few startling facts in debt in our society today. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditure Survey, more people will file bankruptcy this year than will graduate college. And according to the Wall Street Journal, nearly 70% of all consumers live paycheck to paycheck. These are very scary facts, but they're very true, and we've seen the effects of that in our economy today. So I'd like to share my story with you and how I became debt-free. My family and I became debt-free nearly 4 years ago. So my story begins on a Friday night. My husband and I would sit down to pay bills, but this Friday would be unlike any other. We sat down to make our final payment on our debt that we had occurred over many years. After launching our payment, we celebrated in our success. After 5 years of marriage, 4 kids, and a new home, we had managed to pay off over $20,000 in debt. How did we do it, you're probably wondering? We won the lottery, is what I'd like to tell you, or maybe that someone had compassion on us and gave us money. Well, that's not true. There's a reality. Through understanding the reality of our debt, making a plan, changing our lifestyle, and knowing it would take time, we were able to accomplish our goal. So I'd like to start with realizing that life is not a fairy tale, and we all know that, but sometimes we push our debt behind us. We were tired of living paycheck to paycheck, and we've become in a conversation with my father about a book he had been reading called Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, and a series of classes he was attending called Financial Peace University. After reading the book and discovering the classes, we decided to tighten our belts, roll up our sleeves, and get a plan to get out of debt. So I'd like to start with fighting the fight. Yes, we had to budget, and none of us like to budget, but the budgets that were designed in this class helped us to understand that budgets are nothing to be afraid of, but helped us spend our money instead of our money spending us. And I have an example of a budget here today. It's very simple. And Dave Ramsey recommends that you have a monthly budget and a non-monthly budget, which really helped us with our unexpected expenditures outside of your typical utilities. It also took time and moving around of numbers and new ways of thinking of our money. We also had to use this debt snowball effect, which is also part of the plan, which is illustrated right here. It's recommended that you list your debt in order from the lowest balance to the highest balance. And the theory behind this is you'll accomplish these smaller balances and roll these payments over to your larger balances, giving you a sense of victory and a bigger accomplishment at the end goal. We also had to cut impulsive spending, such as dining out, shopping, and etc. If we were going to live like no one else, so we could live like no one else, these things were a must. A recommended reading in the class was The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley. He took a survey of a couple different millionaires and how they lived their lives and how they had become millionaires. And he makes a list of the 7 common traits that these millionaires have in common. I personally like number 1 and number 3. Number 1 says they live below their means. And number 3 says that millionaires believe that their financial independence is more than the display of their financial status, social status. In America today, we believe we live well above our means, and we think that our stuff defines us. Also, we had to realize that it's going to take more than money to get us out of this mess. Spending is what put us in debt, but our behavior is what would get us out. Dave Ramsey says that personal finance is 80% behavior and 20% knowledge. What does this mean? For me, impulsive shopping was over. And for our family, we had to define what our wants were and what our needs were. In other words, we had to cut back on things like cable, dining out, coffee, our donuts, things like that. If you think that your budget is good and your spending is under control, I encourage all of you to look at your bank accounts and see how many donuts you eat, how many times you go to Starbucks, and how many times you eat out as a family, and add that up. I'm most positive you'll be shocked at that number. So understanding the process is another part of this plan that we had to take seriously. We knew it would take time and it wasn't going to happen overnight. It took us a series of 2 years, many changes and many sacrifices. I like the way Betty D'Angelo, a financial planner with Financial Solutions, views those who use credit cards versus those who don't. She says the difference between people who carry credit card debt and those who don't is this. Those who supplement their income with plastic feel deprived when they don't get things, and those who decide not to use plastic do not feel deprived and are okay with saving. The cool thing in all of this is while we were focusing on paying off our debt, we got a much bigger blessing out of this. We became closer as a family and living a simple life. By facing reality our debt crisis, fighting the fight with a plan, knowing it was going to take more than money, and understanding it would take time, we are now debt-free. The improvement this has had on our life and our family overall was well worth every sacrifice we made. I encourage you all today to live like no one else, so that later you can live like no one else. And yes, I know, debt is very normal, so I encourage you all to be weird. Any questions?
Will this plan work for all levels of debt?
This will work for all levels of debt. The class is designed to help people with $1,000 of debt to several thousands dollars of debt.
Where can I find out about financial peace classes?
I have some literature here, but you can always go on the website and find out where the classes are held.
How often do you change your budget?
A budget is ever changing and should be. You should look at your budget weekly and adjust it accordingly. Okay.